Hey, it's Holly and I'm here with my July wrap-up stuff. I'm also starting to get tired because I filmed the last 3 months wrap-ups right before this and I'm standing and my feet hurt. Anyways, July. I read 11 books. I definitely feel like I'm getting my groove back, but I felt like that before, so who knows what that means. That being said, I don't remember really some of these books. Sorry. So first I read Head Over Heels by Jill Shalvis, which is the 3rd book in her Lucky Harbor series. Unfortunately, my library does not have book 2, so I had to skip it. I didn't want to, but I had to do it. I gave it 4 stars. I honestly do not remember much about this at all. I just remember thinking it was enjoyable. It's all I can say. And then I read Only With You and Made For You by Lauren Lane, which are 2 contemporary romances. They're like a duology. Only With You I gave 4 stars, and Made For You I gave 3 stars. I kind of thought that they were both just like average contemporary romances. I just liked the characters in Only With You a little bit better. The heroine was a little unique, like she definitely was an individual. They kind of just didn't leave a huge impression on me. A Week to Be Wicked by Adair, which is the 2nd book in her Spindle Cove series, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I remember this being my favorite, and thus far it is still my favorite. Sort of a marriage of convenience story, sort of a confined spaces story, which confined space, like when the hero and heroine are put together and then can't really escape each other, is not always my favorite kind of story, but she does it very well. A heroine, she kind of, nobody thinks that much of her, like she's just like the smart, that's not true, like her friends and her sisters think a lot of her, but like her mom talks down to her and think that she's just kind of like this smart girl who's never gonna get anything, and then this like attractive guy like takes an interest in her, but not really. It's like this big whole thing with them for the story, so she knows what's going on and everything. I'm not really describing this well in my, I don't know, I just really enjoy it. I think it's a really solid book. It's the best one in the Spindle Cove series, in my opinion, thus far anyways. Speaking of which, I did read A Lady by Midnight, which is the 3rd book in the series. I gave it 4 stars. It's still a really solid read. I would put this 2nd after A Week to Be Wicked. There's some mystery in here and some intrigue, but I wouldn't call it like romantic suspense or anything. But it's definitely about some more like normal characters, which is kind of nice. It also has a really solid, like, I look at like friendship and family and what those all mean, which is always nice to read about. I read The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima, unsure of how to say it. I've been wanting to read her books for a long time, and I say this with a lot of authors, I just don't know where to start, so I kind of just went to the library and was like, well, whatever book there is that's the 1st book in a series, I'll read. So that's the one I picked up. I gave it 4 stars. It's a fantasy story, and it mainly, at least in this one, follows like 2 alternating POVs. It follows the princess in this world, which has queendoms, which I do really like, and like she is sassy pants about it. Like whenever somebody talks about like kingdoms or men, she's like, we have a queendom, and I'm like, you go girl. And then the guy is kind of just like, well, he's normal, but like he was kind of like a gang leader, I guess, of like a street gang and everything, and so it alternates between the 2 of them, and then sometimes their stories overlap, but neither of them really knows who the other is and all of that. I did really enjoy it. I thought it was a really solid fantasy story. I do want to continue with the series. I thought the world building was really solid, and I like a lot of the characters. I'm very interested to see where things progress from here. The magic is really interesting. I wish I knew a little bit more about it, but I'm sure that will be explored in the rest of the books. Then I read Some Kind of Perfect by Krista and Becca Ritchie, which is kind of like the full-length epilogue to the Addicted and Calloway books. I gave it 5 stars. I feel like rating books like these are really hard. If they just make me happy, I'm gonna give it 5 stars. It covers several years in their lives. It makes me so excited for the Like Us series. I can't. And then I follow Krista and Becca Ritchie on Pinterest, and whenever they pin things about like the kids and stuff, I'm just like, oh my god, I feel like I know you. I just loved it. It was beautiful. I think I said this in my written review, which may or may not be up at this point. I can't remember when it's going up. These books have had a profound impact on my life. They've made me rethink things. They've made me look at myself in a different way. They're just amazing, and it's really hard for me to explain and to even rate something like that. I feel like these characters are real. I feel like I know them. I feel like they are my friends. I want to be there for them, and it's great. It's great. I could have done with some more Willow and Garrison though, please. Or just, work on the story on Wattpad. But I understand they're working on other things. Working on the Like Us books. They're working on Infini. I get it. It's fine. No pressure. Then I read Asking for More by Lila Page, which I feel like a horrible person for not knowing existed. It's like a little novella to come after asking for it and begging for more. It's kind of like a glorified novella with some serious stuff thrown in, but mostly just novella cuteness. I gave it 5 stars. Same reason I said Some Kind of Perfect. To me, it's like an epilogue. I'm not going to hold much against it. I thought it was pretty good. I really like Lila Pace's writing. I like these characters. She has another series that's started, and I think the second book comes out in August, that I would like to read. I still want to know who Lila Pace is, though. Who are you? Have I read your other books? This isn't, I don't have a problem with pseudonyms, and I definitely understand. I think part of the reason she used a pseudonym for this is because of the content of the story, asking for it, and not wanting a backlash. Since it could be a he, is a best-selling author under another name, but it really frustrates me because I want to know what that other name is, because if I haven't read their books, I want to read their books, because I feel like these books are so solid. Am I depriving myself of something that's equally amazing out there? So maybe one day I'll find out. If somehow Lila Page just happens to be watching this and you want to just shoot me an email or DM me on Twitter, I won't tell anyone. It's just for my own personal knowledge. What if it's an author that I hate their other books? That'd be hilarious. Anyways, moving on. So then I read Bet Me by Jennifer Cruzy, which I have heard about for at least 8 years probably. I don't even know, maybe 10. How long has this book been out? And I just never pick it up because I'm not a fan of Bet storylines. But finally I was like, forget it, I'm just gonna freaking pick it up. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a very solid book. My mom actually saw it here and she really enjoyed it. I think my favorite part about it is, oh, by the way, it kind of reminded me of Wallbanger by Alice Clayton. In that you have these groups of friends and their interactions with each other and everything. That's what it reminded me of, which I think is part of why I enjoyed it. It has really solid friendships, and Min, the main character, she's average, and she doesn't hate herself or anything, but she definitely, I feel has realistic expectations of herself, which is where I come from. That's how I feel about myself. But the hero is stop treating yourself that way. That's ridiculous. And I really like that. And one of the things that made me want to pick it up is they were talking about this in the DBSA. I was getting caught up on some old podcasts, and it was what made you a romance reader? What book made you read romance? And one of the girls, I can't remember who it was, maybe Elise, I don't know, had said it was Bet Me, and that something stayed with her from here was that the hero says to her at one point, don't dress stop dressing like you hate your body. And she said that had a huge impact on her, and when she goes shopping, she tries to remember that. And I have to say that that's something I feel I do sometimes, is I will. I'll dress like I hate my body instead of just being overweight. I could lose weight. I need to lose weight. I need to work out more. But that doesn't mean I need to dress like I hate myself. And so the book has a lot of that in it. It's a very solid book. I would probably read more Jennifer Cruzy. I just don't know where to go from here. Then I read Berg to You by Sylvia Day, which I've heard a lot about and had been kind of avoiding because I just wasn't sure about it. I gave it 3 stars. I think it's compared to 50 Shades of Grey a lot. Honestly, I don't really see why. The hero is definitely damaged and he's a billionaire, so I don't know if that's why, but like not every billionaire story is 50 Shades of Grey. So, and there's like comments about dominant submissive relationships, but it's at this point it's not like a BDSM situation. And I personally do believe that every relationship has a dominant and a submissive, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a sexual thing. I think that's true for literally every relationship, whether it be a friendship or a romantic relationship or anything like that. It's natural that there would be a dominant personality. So I don't necessarily see that as like a thing to use as a comparison, but I was definitely gripped by the story. It had me reading. I struggled to put it down, but the relationship is incredibly unhealthy. I do plan on continuing with the series, and I'm curious to see what happens. Basically the whole series is, or this whole book is like the 2 main characters, Gideon and Eva, are either like fighting or they're having sex or they're fighting. And I like enemies to lovers stories, but this is not what I like. They both acknowledge that their relationship is unhealthy, which is part of the reason I gave it 3 stars instead of 2. And there were some discussion questions at the end of the book that to me suggested that Sylvia Day maybe knows that it's unhealthy, and maybe that's her intention, and these characters are going to really develop and grow over the course of the series, and that I'm okay with. So I do plan on continuing to read, and I have my fingers crossed that that will happen. And then the last book I read in July is First and Then by Emma Mills. Ended up getting this from the library because I wasn't 100% sure if I would like it or not. I'm really glad I got it from the library. I gave it 3 stars. Honestly, I think the writing style just might not be for me. If she writes another book, I will pick it up. I do not watch her YouTube channel, but I do watch How to Adult, so I do like Emma Mills as like a human being, at least what I see of her. A young adult, contemporary with some romance. There are some other relationships in the story. There's actually one particular romance or relationship that I liked better than the romance. The second half of the book I got into a lot more. The first half I kind of had to like force myself to read it, and I almost put it down. And there was just a lot of unresolved questions for me, which is why I gave it 3 stars. I also just could not fully connect with the main character, the protagonist, Devin. But I liked a lot of the other characters in it, and I liked Emma Mills' look at high school life. I thought it was a little more authentic than other stories I have read. And then I'll show you one book, because I haven't shown any books in all of these wrap-ups. I'll show you the book I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading The Shadows by J.R. Ward, and this came out last year, and I just didn't pick it up for a variety of reasons, but one of the reasons is I really don't like my romance as hardcover books. It really bothers me. I do own several books in this series as hardcovers, so I will probably, there's another book out in the series now, The Beast. I probably will not pick that up either. I'll get that from the library just like this one, and I'm really enjoying this. I was a little apprehensive because I liked certain parts of the previous book, The King, but not all of them. There are still some things in here I don't like. There's a ton of jumping around between different storylines, like 5 or 6 storylines, and it's just a little frustrating for me. And I can tell she's setting up the Beast, but I'm a little over halfway through, and I am definitely enjoying it. There are certain parts I enjoy more than others, but I will probably talk more about that in my August wrap-up. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions or anything, feel free to leave them down below.